Hello and welcome to Alpha Militaria TV. Thanks very much for tuning in once again and seeing what we're up to. My name is Richard Saunders. Now, I want to kick things off by wishing you all a very happy new year, and also New Year's resolution time. I've been a bit lazy recently, haven't done many reviews on the channel, had lots of other things going on, but New Year's resolution for 2024 is to do plenty more reviews, and we have some great guns lined up as well. Some new rifles, some not so new rifles, plenty of guns lined up. And it's probably worth me pointing out, because there has been a bit of debate online recently about the nature of YouTube reviews. And obviously I can't talk for the other reviewers, but as far as I'm concerned, we never receive a single penny for any of these reviews. We've been offered money in the past and we've turned it down. All of these reviews are completely independent, and every rifle that you see is either one that I personally own or one that I've been loaned by a gun shop or a retailer or a manufacturer for the purpose of review. And in actual fact, this particular gun, the Remington Thunder Ceptor, came from Just Air Guns, and it's available from lots and lots of different retailers, but this one came from Just Air Guns, and they sell it at the moment for £199.99, and that includes a 3-9x50 scope and a set of mounts. So what we're going to do, as usual, is run through the rifle from end to end, look at the key features, talk about them a little bit more, and then show you them in detail. And then I'll end up on the range and see how the rifle shoots. So then, the Remington Thunder Ceptor. First things first, what a great name for a rifle. It sounds like it should be a sports car or a jet fighter or something, but it's just an air rifle. Now, manly as that name is, the proportions of this rifle are also man size as well. It's 49 inches long, that's an inch over 4 feet, and it weighs 4.5 kilos, that's over 10 pounds with this scope put on. So, it's not a rifle to contemplate if you are a smaller shooter. I'd say it's probably not suitable for kids either. Obviously, a lot of people are going to be shooting this from a bench when a lot of that weight is disappears. And I have to say, a bit of weight on a rifle is not necessarily a bad thing. Now, this is a gas ram rifle, and gas rams, some of them are thought to have quite a harsh firing cycle, quite a bit of recoil. And although I've not shot this rifle yet, I would imagine that that extra weight will help dampen down any recoil. And for that reason, some of the best spring-powered rifles, like the Air Arms TX200, the Air Arms Pro Sport, the Viroc HW77, the 98, they're quite weighty rifles as well, and a lot of that, just as I say, absorbs any recoil. Now, for those of you who perhaps are not familiar with a gas ram, developed by a company called Theoben, and they launched a rifle in 1982, I believe, called the Theoben Sirocco, which introduced this concept of a gas ram. Now, a gas ram basically indicates that a rifle, instead of having a mainspring, which is cocked every time you break the barrel, there's a chamber of a sealed chamber of gas. I think it's usually nitrogen, which when you cock the barrel is compressed, and then when you pull the trigger, the gas expands again, pushes a piston, picks up the pellet, and pushes it out of the barrel. Now, I believe that the original genesis for this idea was a Suzuki motorbike, or the suspension on a motorbike anyway. Now, the Theoben technology was handed on to Viroc and is still present in the Viroc HW90, which I think is probably the best gas ram rifle on the market right now. Significantly more expensive than this one, but really is a great rifle, and I think we've done a review on that if you want to check it out. But this is kind of a mid-size, mid-price rifle, and as I say, retails for just under £200. Right, what we're going to do then, let's talk through some of the key features. Right at the very back of this rifle, you have a solid rubber shoulder pad. There's a little bit of grooving on it, but it doesn't move at all. There is a screw in the back here. Don't be fooled into thinking that by undoing that you can move the shoulder pad, because you can't. There is some adjustment though on this cheek comb up here. There's a couple of screws down here that you'll have to undo, and then this cheek piece here lifts up. Now, I have fiddled around with this, and it's not the smoothest system in the world, to be honest. You know, some of these adjustable cheek pieces move up and down like silk. This one's a little bit more notchy and takes a little bit more force to do, but to be honest, it's probably one of those things that you'll only ever do once, and then you'll leave the rifle alone. And the screws are crosshead screws. Having said that, I found that the rifle with the cheek piece down, it kind of fits me quite nicely. The whole rear of this butt section here is a little bit, reminds me a little bit of an Air Arms S200, to be honest, with this cutaway here. And the pistol grip is very vertical, it's very upright, and has some stippling around the front, and also allows you to grip with a thumb wrapped around or a thumb up grip as well. And there's a couple of little, very subtle little indents here which channel your thumb and also your trigger finger. And then you have a long forend on this rifle, and right at the end you have more panels of molded stippling here, and they kind of come out a little bit to give you a very definite sense of where Remington think your lead hand should go. And you know, very obviously, the entire stock is made up from black plastic, or synthetic, or polymer. It's plastic, but you know what? It's really solid. There's no sort of hollow, scratchy notchiness at all on it, and you can tell where that 10 pounds of weight comes from. It's a very solidly made rifle. Now, there is a moulding seam underneath, but there's no sharp edges. It's very smooth and very well finished. And although there is the tiniest little bit of flex if you pinch the end of the forend here, it's very slight and not something you're going to notice when you're actually shooting the rifle. The trigger is, now the trigger guard is plastic, but the trigger itself and the safety catch in front of it are metal, which is good. And the blade itself is a traditional kind of curved blade, has some ridges on the face of it, and feels really good in the finger, actually. 2 stages. Now, the first stage on this out of the box was quite long, but it did come up to a very defined stop. And then the second stage, again, was a little bit long, but very smooth. And there is a little hole in the trigger guard here for you to access a screw up here, which I assume gives you some adjustment. But yeah, out of the box, although the stages were quite long, they're very predictable and very smooth. The safety catch is a little smaller trigger here in front of the main trigger, and as you know, I'm not a big fan of safety catches in that position. But in the safe position, it's pushed back, and you know you will feel that with your finger if you try to pull the trigger, and then push it forward to make the rifle safe. Now, there is no the safety catch is completely manual, so it doesn't come on when you cock the rifle, but it does mean that you can flick it on and off at will. And there is an anti-bear trap device on this, which means that, and I'll show you this later, that if you cock the barrel and then for whatever reason pull the trigger, the barrel won't fly up and trap your fingers. The metalwork is really good on this, very good quality, very deep and very even. And there's a dovetail rail at the top here for you to attach a scope. There's no open sights on this rifle. Then right at the front you have quite a chunky breech here, lots of metal there, locks up very solidly, and there's no movement in the action at all. And if you do notice any sloppiness over time, there's a big screw on this left hand side that you can nip up, and that will tighten things once again. The barrel is 542 millimeters long, or 21.5 inches, but that includes this plastic shroud, this kind of bull barrel full length shroud. So I don't really know how far down the barrel actually goes before it's just suppressor and shroud. And this is glued on or something, so it's not something that you can pull off easily and check. Now, The upside of that is that it does do a pretty good job of making the rifle quiet based on the couple of shots I've taken in the garden. And the extra length does also make it very easy to break this rifle. Just the lightest of taps on the end breaks the barrel. The cocking stroke is very smooth. There's like a little kind of click right at the very start, but not too loud, and then the rest of it is very smooth. And then when you return the barrel, it does lock up nice and tightly as well. Now the scope, as I say, you get this 3-9 by 50 scope. It's obviously it's a budget item, as is typical on these kind of package deals. But you know what? It's actually pretty good. I've kind of looked around the garden and stuff. And although there's no parallax adjustment on it, the parallax is actually set at a distance that is conducive to air gunning. And it's very clear, I have to say. It's only a basic duplex style reticle, but it's nice and clear. And yeah, works quite nicely. And you have some screw-off mounts, some screw-off turrets up here that enable you to make adjustment with a screwdriver or a coin. For both windage, obviously, and elevation. And then you get these mounts, which look pretty good quality. Now, the one thing I would say about the free mounts is that although there is a hole in the back of the action here to accept an arrestor stud, the mounts themselves don't come with a stud. So if you do find issues with the scope creeping back under recoil, then you might want to swap out the studs, the mounts for versions that have an arrestor stud. Or you can buy a separate arrestor block to go behind this rear mount here. So I think that's everything. What we do now is we'll zoom in on some of the key features in close-up detail. Now, as I said before, the Remington Thunder Ceptor has a nice long barrel, which makes it really easy to cock. And because the safety catch doesn't come on automatically, what I suggest you do is put the safety catch into the safe position. Obviously, if you're shooting on a range or plinking in a garden, you're taking shot after shot after shot, then you can probably get away with not doing that. But if you're going to be out hunting and you're going to be carrying the rifle around for any time cocked, then put that safety catch on straight away. Then once you've done that, as a right-hander, obviously if you're left-handed, it's the other way around, just tuck the butt of the rifle into your right hip, take hold of the forend with your right hand, and then just give the barrel a light tap just to break the action. Now, some people like to put a pellet into the breech at this point. To be honest, the breech doesn't really open that much to enable you to do that. So instead, what you're going to have to do is take a hold of the end of the barrel and sweep it all the way down. Now, if you hadn't put the safety catch on, I'm just going to take this off, even if you pull the trigger with the rifle in this sort of semi-cocked state, the anti-bear trap mechanism will prevent the barrel flying up and tracking your fingers. Now, having said that, even with that anti-bear trap mechanism, even with the safety catch on, I always advocate holding onto the barrel while you put a pellet in the breech, just in case anything lets go. You have that added level of security. But once you have a pellet in the breech, just return the barrel and you're ready to go. Now, one thing with an anti-bear trap mechanism rifle is that you can't decock the rifle. So the only way that you can make this safe and unloaded is to fire the pellet into the ground in a safe direction. Well, there you have it. That's a quick rundown on the Remington Thunder Ceptor. Next stage is to take it down to Reading Air Target Shooting Club and see how it shoots. So I'll pop down to Reading Air Target Shooting Club with the Remington Thunder Ceptor to put a few pellets through it. Now I've set a target out at 20 meters, so we'll see how it shoots.
Some phones in my bag, got my guns, got Richard's guns, rifles, sorry.
And I'm using JSB Hades pellets, and I have given the rifle a pull through, and so far it seems to be doing all right. One shot. This rifle is very smooth to cop, and there's no graunchiness at all in the action when you sweep the barrel down. And it locks up nice and firmly too. The trigger is a little bit, the stage is a little bit long on it, but there's a clear stop between first and second stage, and pulling the trigger is very smooth as well. And shooting on the bench, all of that weight and size disappears as well. And I have to say, this full-length shroud does a pretty good job of making it quite a quiet rifle to shoot as well. Well, that's 10 shots. So let's go and see how that grouped. Well, that's not the best group in the world, but the scope, I have to say, having looked through the scope, it's a little bit blurry, which made sort of precision shooting a bit more difficult, but that's not too bad. That's 10 shots. I'd say 8 of them are within a sort of 50p piece there, and then a couple more out there, but that's 10 shots at 20 meters with JSB Hades pellets. Well, there you go. That is the Remington Thunder Ceptor. I hope you found that useful. Now, in terms of conclusions, I have to say it's a really nice gun to shoot. Nice firing action, very, very solidly made, and this weight and the length of it disappears when you're sat on a bench. And the trigger is surprisingly good as well for a rifle at this price point. The one thing I would say though is if you buy one of these, you might want to just budget to get yourself a better scope, because although this one, the one that comes with the rifle, is fine for shooting in the garden at a few tin cans, if you want to try and shoot a little bit more precisely at targets, then I did struggle with the parallax on this. I couldn't quite get a very clear focus on the rifle. But yeah, overall it shot very, very well indeed. Now, I hope you found that useful. If you did, please hit the like button, and if you haven't already, then subscribe. And don't forget to check out our website, alphamilitaria.com, where you'll find lots of reviews and lots of features on airgunning topics, and you'll also find our shop. Thanks very much for watching.